Good morning and welcome to our Environmental Industry Summit preview session, broadcasting here today from San Diego. And we'll go to again remind you of the agenda that we look forward to to September. So as mentioned on Tuesday, we'll have outdoor events. There's also a couple of people who are interested in going on the harbor boats. And then a reception that night. The Wednesday, we will have these two roundtables, a little different than we've done before. So we'll have at least 2 hours of morning group sessions, although the total registration list as of now is about 130, 140. We probably expect 20 or 30 in each of these roundtable groups, maybe more for the Wednesday morning, of course, depending on now travel schedules and the September schedule. We have those two groups, and both of those subject areas, PFAS and emerging contaminants, as well as disruptive or deployable technologies into our industry for the next decade and what impacts they'll have on the industry, though there's kind of the themes of those open discussions. And then both of those, we have shortish panel discussions in front of the whole audience on the second day of the conference on September the 10th, Thursday. So we encourage your interest in participation in those events. Those of you are probably seeing that we've still have open our technology deployment survey, as well as disruptive technology potential for the 2020 survey going on that will publish in the next edition of Environmental Business Journals. So we've started analysis on that, although the survey platform remains open. So Wednesday afternoon, when we start the full-on agenda, Andy will give his preview of his political and policy overview and the scenarios therein. I'll present more recent survey results, as well as our outlook and market sizing and factors impacting that and growth scenarios in September. Will be updated from what's happened, of course, in the last 6 months as well. Then we have kind of an executive response group in 2 layers, and we've kind of selected from our core community audience over the years what I'm calling inquisitors this year. So they actually, rather than completely disorganized from the audience, it'll be somewhat organized from the table, where we have Summit veterans will not only test Andy and my scenarios and outlooks and forecasts, but also engage in their own and hopefully have some lively discussion, of course, involving the audience. And then last, we have kind of senior level of large company participants to kind of give their perspective on how they react to all of that, and what they have done, of course, in the last 6 months related to not just the virus situation and the economic impacts, but of course how they as a company approach strategic planning and how they fit in the industry over the next a couple years, or even, of course, into the decade. And then that night, we break to the reception, and then back in the same room, we have our awards banquet there at the Coronado Island Marriott. So that's the first day. The second day is basically a full day of conference where we have award winner panels. We deal with the emerging contaminants and PFAS infrastructure. We have an M&A finance roundtable, strategic growth. A panel on climate, a panel on the technology we were talking about before, and then likely interspersed we'll have our Lifetime Achievement Awards presentations, individuals as yet unnamed to the broad audience, and then our kind of ending the whole event with our 50th anniversary of the industry, recognizing EPA, NEPA, Earth Day, and many other things that occurred in 1970. So that'll be festive yet serious. So again, new for this year are the 2 roundtables, what I guess I called the Inquisition on that slide, and then our 50-year celebration. And then next, to remind you from last year, these were our stunning awards, unlike the usual acrylic and or paper awards that people win, where I hopefully curated and selected culturally appropriate artifacts that we then presented to our 2 Lifetime Award winners last year, which we look to recreate each year. And then quickly, what are some of the factors that we continue to evaluate on an ongoing basis, and how do they elevate in terms of their impact on the short-term and long-term scenarios for our industry and of course the broader economy. So gross domestic product and economic growth, of course, is the big one. So obviously that impact the election, jobs and employment, the stock market, that's big fluctuations in that. We all know interest rates are being watched. Consumer confidence measures, of course, go up and down with the availability of toilet paper. Oil prices, gas prices, gasoline for transportation, of course, has broad impacts, as do housing prices, housing starts. These are all inputs to our forecast model for the industry and, of course, have been impacted by the current situation. And last wild cards related to election, of course, the whole virus quarantines and lockdowns, and ultimately the trade deals that have happened and possible sort of foreign policy outliers that can impact, the electability of the president and the administration, its impact on Congress. So in my last slide really relates to one of our tools that we update on a rolling basis and have for the last decade or more at the summit. And this is actually from the last iteration that I presented in New England at the New England Environmental Industry Summit in December 2019 with neutral, positive, negative, double negative factors and how we looked at potential outcomes for the going into the next decade. So rather than going through all those factors, just rather seeing that list of factors and awareness that that's something we will look at updating in various scenarios. So that concludes mine.